So the question that's on a lot of people's minds is, who should I vote for? Because we've got nobody likes Trump or Hillary, and if you think that we've ever had two candidates where one of them was good and one of them was bad, then you were either too young to know any better, or else you should be slapped across the face at least 2,500 times. Okay, now the debate is, should I vote for let's someone who's a third party who I really can get behind more, or should I vote for someone who's for Trump or Hillary, even though I hate whoever I'm voting for because I fear the other one more. And a lot of people are making those justifications of saying, a vote for the third party is a vote for Hillary. A vote for the third party is a vote for Trump. And you're just supporting Trump by doing that. You're supporting Hillary by doing that. So you got to vote for this person even though you hate so many things about him. Do you? Well, let me introduce you to another fear. And I think the real thing we need to understand here is that, as afraid as we are of a person, we need to consider that there is much, much, much greater power in ideas. Ideas are what really run our country. And ideas are what we need to think about getting behind, putting whatever little soapbox of authority or power, little vote, little say-so, whatever you got, that really has way, 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 way more power. So, for example, in America, we had the First Amendment. And people believe that under the First Amendment, you couldn't tell people what to eat and what to do with their bodies. So, marijuana, tobacco, alcohol, people believe you just can't just ban those, not on a federal level. And in the late 1800s, new drugs were developed, and especially after the Civil War, America became what they called a dope fiend's paradise, where you could get the Sears catalog, and you could get the dope, the morphine, you get the hypodermic needle, the new way of injecting it, and inject yourself. And you had all these dope addicts. It was a big breakout thing. Marijuana had been around forever. Tobacco, alcohol had been around forever. But this was a new thing. Heroin was even created to cure morphine addiction or opium addiction. But the problem was it goes into your bloodstream, and then I think in the liver it becomes opium. So there was a new push, the temperance movement. And the idea was they had to push all the way to getting rid of alcohol. Not just morphine, not just opium. We've got to push weed out. We've got to push alcohol out. And people really believed that that was against the Bill of Rights, against the basic rights of Americans. But the idea had so much sway that eventually alcohol did get banned. And that's something to think about, that people believed it was unconstitutional to do so. But there was so much public support for it. They just needed a loophole. And there was one congressman who he gave the speech about it, and about how he was going to ban this and ban that, and he said he went back, and at that time I guess Washington D.C. was smaller, to his office, looked out the back window to just a field of marijuana, because it's a native weed, and he said, "What have I done? I promised to ban this stuff, and it's just a plant that grows wild everywhere. How do I ban that?" They did. They said Congress is his trick was Congress is guaranteed the right to tax anything, and so we'll just place such a high tax on drugs that you can't afford to buy them. So technically, they're not illegal. They're just really highly taxed. Now, the Ninth Amendment in the Bill of Rights says that the powers given to Congress shall not be twisted to give Congress, or I think maybe the federal government, powers that are not expressly given to it. And so they just kind of ignored that one, and boom. The point is, what caused that to be able to happen. The idea that drugs are bad. You understand? So that's just one example. It's ideas that really motivate and change things. And in America, we need to sit back and think about what ideas are really motivating people. And I would argue that from an ideological standpoint, a vote for Trump or a vote for Hillary is a vote for, anti-freedom in a sense, or big government coming in and protecting us. From the Hillary side, it's more like we need the government to protect us from what we do with our money and from corporations who are getting all of our money and that kind of thing. And we need the government to, make sure we spend our money correctly, although I think she's not really that big on... She wants to increase taxes on the rich and then give the money, to things that we need. But ultimately, there's this idea on the liberal side of, like, the government needs to get your money and spend on stuff you need, sort of socialism. But on top of that, there's this idea the government needs to come in and force people to accept minorities and groups that have been hated, whether it be transsexuals or homosexuals or other races. The government, the force of government should be brought in to force you to accept these people. And whereas they're trying to increase, I guess, acceptance in society and safety for those people, they're doing it by the removal of rights and freedoms. So you say, well, okay, then vote for Trump. He's the same thing, right? Because he wants to make us safe by getting rid of Muslims. Basically, he's going to move all immigrants out of America and only let the good ones back in. Like, who is he to decide who's a good one and who's a bad one until they've actually done something wrong? Isn't that a basic that you're not going to be penalized for a crime until you actually commit one? There's no thought crime. That's a pretty basic one. That I'm free to believe whatever I want to believe. That's what the First Amendment, right? Freedom of religion, freedom of belief, freedom to believe whatever idea, no matter how stupid, and even to spread my idea and build my little church around my little stupid idea, no matter how stupid it is. So, in other words, my point is the idea that's taking our country by storm is fear about what might happen. And so if you vote Hillary or Trump on the basis that you don't want the other one in, that's a vote for fear. That's my point. Don't vote for fear. Don't let the fear win. If there is no God, I guess we do have a lot of reasons to be afraid. But if there is a God, even though things don't always go the way we plan, and like Romans 8:28 says, we know that all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. But if there is no God, then the President of the United States, currently Barack Obama, is the most powerful being in the universe, and that doesn't mean he's very powerful. He's the same Barack Obama. There's a ton of stuff he can't stop. He can't stop shootings in Orlando and in Louisiana. He can't stop that stuff. He's just Barack Obama. He's just the president. But no one's got any more power. But what he's supposed to do, he can come talk about it after the fact, right? So we want to protect ourselves, so we want to take away freedoms. Like, we want to take away people's guns, or take away guns from these people, not those people, and then we'll be safe. And so we begin to violate people's rights, and we say, "Oh, democracy, that gave us Trump, Hillary. Can we take away votes from the dumb people and only give them to the smart people?" Again, taking away people's basic rights. Fear motivates evil. The only way you can justify the freedoms we have in America, or if there's a God who looks out for us, and then you can say, okay, I'm not going to violate people's basic freedoms, even though it's dangerous to do so, because it is. Look at Scientology, for example. In France, they do everything they can to ban it. And they say, in America, y'all let this thing get too big, because under the First Amendment, anything goes. And we want to say, you're dang right it does. Because this is America, my friend. and we have the First Amendment. And we believe that a person has the right to believe whatever they want to believe, no matter how dangerous it is. Because Scientology goes around telling people they pay about $10,000. They'll have no more emotional or mental problems. They'll never forget anything, and they'll be clear. And you can look at the list of people who have achieved clear status, and you can achieve higher clear statuses. Because I think L. Ron Hubbard said Jesus was clear level 5, and he was a clear level 7. You know, himself, Ron, the founder. So that's something to think about. Don't vote for fear in this election. Don't let fear about what might happen control you, because it's ideas like that that lead to taking away freedoms, and that is more important than if it's Trump or Hillary. Okay? That is dangerous. Don't vote for fear. Just because this is a group of people over here, you know, you see them as dangerous, don't vote for fear. Look at our Constitution and how beautiful it is. A person has the right to a trial by jury, you know, and you know, you say, well, this person is a Muslim, you know, we need to put them on lockdown, make them pay an extra tax, and, you know, spy on them, and take away their rights, and maybe just kill them, you know, like we used to do, you know, here in the South, right? Well, not Muslims, but they used to kill a certain group of people because they were sure that black people were dangerous, right? And people want to say that's a great idea when you're not in that group of people that's being targeted. But if it flips and all of a sudden you're the one who's got his head in the rope, now you want a due process of law and a trial by jury. And you want let's make sure I did whatever you're saying I did before you kill me. So that's the thing. Yes, freedom creates anarchy and danger. We have shootings because people have guns. Okay, and we're going to continue to have shootings. But my point, and I don't want to divulge into that too much, but I want you to think about what ideas you are supporting in your words, in your speech, and what ideas are going out in the nation. Everything Trump, Hillary is about fear. Fear is motivating everything in the election this year. And even the people who are saying, I gotta vote Trump and I gotta vote Hillary, they are motivated by fear half the time too. Don't let fear rule you. Fear is the opposite. It is the antithesis of faith. Faith is the idea that God is looking out for us. And even though we may need to, I'm not saying if you see a baby about to be run over, you say, God's looking out for us, now go pick up the baby. I'm saying when fear about what might happen motivates you to violate people's rights or to do other bad things, maybe even kill someone because you're afraid of what might happen. That's when you've crossed that line to where you're so afraid of that God's not looking out for us that you got to do whatever you can to make sure everything's okay. That's why you steal stuff from work or, cheat on your taxes or something. You know it's wrong, but you're afraid of how am I going to make ends meet. Fear is a powerful motivation. People are worried. People talk about commitment issues in relationships. Why? Because people are afraid. We're afraid of what might happen. We're afraid that everything will go wrong. And, honestly, if we look at the Bible, the times when people did the best they knew how and were obedient and everything went wrong, anyway, those were some of the times where God showed up the biggest and the mightiest and the most amazing. You look at Stephen in the Bible, okay? Stephen could have kept his big mouth shut that day, because the climate of anti-Jesus, anti-Christianity, anti-Christians, people weren't that anti. He made that persecution thing happen with his speech that day. He fired people up because he got on his thing and he was like, I'm going to tell y'all need to accept Jesus because y'all some bad people. You know what I mean? He could have toned it down or something. He created the first persecution, the first attempt to kill all Christians. And the main guy behind it was this rich, well-educated guy named Saul, who had all the right handshakes, got all the right paperwork, knew all the right people, and he went on a Christian killing spree. And this was the one time, it probably would have succeeded, because in Roman times there was too many Christians. Even though emperors like Decius, really went for it, there's too many Christians by that point. But Paul, he had a shot. But look at what God did. He took Saul and turned him into Paul. And when Christianity is in its darkest hour, Stephen stayed true to sharing the faith and trusting that God would look out for them. And he stayed true to what they believed in. And then God worked miraculously through that and turned their greatest adversary into the greatest missionary Christianity's ever seen, the world's ever seen. So my point is, do not let fear motivate you. It is a powerfully dangerous force. It leads to hatred and suffering. That's what motivated so many horrible things, because people are afraid of what might happen. That they do something bad that they know is bad to make sure that this other bad thing that they're worried about doesn't happen. Have some faith. It is the opposite of fear. I hope that makes at least a drop of sense. Maybe no one will watch this, but thank you for your time. Jesus loves you.